Greetings and salutations, everyone, and welcome to a game that gets too often forgotten. Persona 2 has become the series' definitive cult classic, being revered for a lot of its narrative and gameplay decisions, but also somehow being left out of a lot of modern conversation. But I've heard rumors this game is too easy, and the main character is so strong that they can win most battles by themselves. So, let's make that rumor a reality. Can you beat Persona 2 Eternal Punishment's Tatsuya Scenario with only Tatsuya? For anyone unaware, Persona 2 is a story in two parts, Innocent Sin and Eternal Punishment. I've done solo runs of both games already, but that's still technically not the full story. While Eternal Punishment puts you in the control of Maya, Tatsuya, the protagonist of Innocent Sin, is also there trying to stop Nyarly on his own. For the original PS1 games, that's as far as it went, but when both games got remakes for the PSP, Eternal Punishment's remake added the Tatsuya Scenario, a series of optional side missions that puts the player in Tatsuya's shoes while he goes about his business. And I made the Tatsuya Scenario a sub-goal, so it's time to finally complete Persona 2's story. By the way, if you haven't watched my previous solo runs of Persona 2, please at least watch Eternal Punishment. This video isn't going to make any sense otherwise. The rules of Nirvana are simple. Only Tatsuya is allowed to have a quantifiable effect on anything. Nobody else is allowed to heal, talk to demons, attack in combat, nothing. Thankfully, some episodes only let you use Tatsuya anyway, but we'll put a pin in that for now. That being said, I always try to avoid making exceptions to my rules in these runs, and the Tatsuya Scenario immediately presents a problem. When you start an episode, the game takes note of who is currently in your party, removes them, then adds Tatsuya. Then when it's over, it removes him, then adds back whoever you had. Since the game is just changing who's in your party, actions you take in the present can affect Tatsuya in the past. Most notably, Maya and Tatsuya share an inventory, meaning we could, in theory, obtain dozens of the game's strongest items as Maya, then give them to Tatsuya, giving him an advantage he shouldn't have. For a true Tatsuya solo run, we need to know what Tatsuya has access to. Or rather, what Scribe has access to. In my Innocent Sin run, my Tatsuya, who I named Scribe, had quite an assortment of items. In Innocent Sin, you could spread a rumor that makes the slot machines in the local casino pay out so often, you basically can't lose. This same rumor is in Eternal Punishment, which means Sub can do the same thing there. This gives us infinite casino coins, which gives us infinite money. Now that we're the richest boy in Sumeru City, we can define our inventory. Infinite money gets us 99 of every item from the Satomi Tadashi Pharmacy, and infinite coins get us 99 of every prize from Yukatanet's Casino. I am not allowing myself any other items. We only have what we know Sub could get. Also, since he starts the first episode equipped with the 7-pronged sword and a full set of Genji gear, the same gear he has when he joins in the main story, I'll be using that gear for the entire run, along with the all-round earring, which we can buy from Yukatanет. Lastly, seeing as this is Scribe from Innocent Sin, I also leveled him up and altered his stats to match what he would have had right before the final boss of that game, as well as ranking up his persona, Apollo, to the max rank of 8. There's actually precedent for this in-game. If you have completed save data for Innocent Sin, you can transfer it over when you start Eternal Punishment, which, among other things, increases Sub's level and Apollo's rank if they were higher. With everything set up, we can finally begin the Tatsuya Scenario, or as I'm calling it, the Sub-story. The first episode takes place before Eternal Punishment's main story, and opens not with Scribe, but on a young policewoman, Shiori Miyashiro. Walking into Club Zodiac, she begins questioning a high school girl, Anna Yoshizaka, about the local Joker rumors. Supposedly, if you call your own phone number, someone called Joker will pick up and he'll kill whoever you ask him to. Since the guy who injured Anna in a hit-and-run just got murdered by the Joker, Shiori asks if Anna called in to hit. She shows him a calling card that the Joker sent, but it's not addressed to Anna, it's addressed to her. In order to find out if the Joker is real, Shiori called a hit out on herself. Anna gets reasonably pissed about being accused of secondhand murder, which is enough for Shiori to trust her, so she walks up to Nakamura, the guy working the counter, and asks for the key to the VIP lounge. When he says no, she threatens to get the club suspended and have him arrested for running a club while foul as a restaurant. Mind you, she knows this is something basically every small-end club has to do to make money, but it is illegal, so she's using it as blackmail. So to recap, Shiori's introduction as a character is accusing a teenager of murder, taking a hit out on herself, and blackmailing a minimum wage employee. We're off to a great start! Key in hand, Shiori gives Nakamura her card and says that she's going to lock the door and to not let anyone else in. If anyone but her comes out, or if someone else goes in, that person must be the Joker. And if she doesn't come out by tomorrow morning, to call Scribe's brother, Katsuya, at the police department. If her plan is successful, The next person she meets will be the Joker, and at that point, it'll be him or her. Meanwhile, we finally cut to the titular Scribe, agonizing over the day he ran into Maya on this side. The moment he saw her smile, the smile that he in June had promised to protect, he remembered everything and knew what would happen if she remembered too. He shut himself away. If he saw nothing, heard nothing, felt nothing, maybe, just maybe, it would be enough. But it was too late. Nyarlathotep was already dragging him to hell, and there was nothing he could do to stop it. So, he vows that no matter what it costs him, he'll do everything to take Nyarlathotep down with him. When suddenly, he gets a call from Anna. Since Anna and Sub were friends on this side, she tells him about the weird cop chick that locked herself in the VIP room to bait the Joker. Since June wasn't the Joker on this side, that means someone else was. So Sub tells Anna not to go in after her, jumps on his motorcycle, and books it to Club Zodiac. Once he arrives, Anna and Nakamura explain what happened. Sub picks up Shiori's card, memorizes her name and number, then burns it with his persona, which apparently works on JoJo's stand rules, then takes Nakamura's wooden sword and goes to keep Shiori from getting herself killed. Now, that took 5 minutes to go over. I tried to keep it short. How long do you think it took in-game to cover that information? Yeah, try almost 25 minutes! I've seen visual novels less text-dense than this. You boot up the game expecting to start playing as badass level 55 Deja Vu boy, and what does the games do?
He starts monologuing.
Like, we don't need Shiori's inner monologue about how a lot of guys here would like to see a different expression on Anna's face. We don't need Sub to break down why Nakamura keeps a wooden sword behind the counter. Show, don't tell people! To really hammer this home, I'm going to put Tatsuya's half of the opening in the corner of the screen while I go through Club Zodiac, because I bet I can finish this episode before Tatsuya finishes having an episode. The one good thing about most of Sub's inner monologues is that he apparently listens to the Sumeru TV theme on fucking repeat. And even though I prefer the PS1 version, this version still kicks ass. Walking into the back rooms of Club Zodiac, we immediately find two Byakuya guarding the upper floors. Thankfully, they're completely pathetic. Even if we had it leveled up Sub, you'd have to try to lose this fight. Heading upstairs, you can go south and west to grab 10 beads and 2 chewing souls if you need them, but the correct path is east. Well, the key we got from Nakamura got us in here, we need another to actually get inside the lounge. Don't ask how Shiori got in there. Oh, and by the way, don't worry about random encounters. The enemies are even weaker than the Byakuya we just killed. And don't bother talking to anything, even if we could get Taro, there's no velvet room to use them with. Once we get to this big open hallway, we find 2 staircases to the 3rd floor on either side. The stairs to the east lead to the VIP lounge, but the staff room with the key is to the west, so that's where we're heading first. As Sub questions why a single cop would go so far, the room is suddenly filled with a nauseating gas as a horrifying creature melts its way through the walls. Reeling from the grotesque sight, Sub prepares to confront Shub. I'm not risking that. Show of hands, who's surprised that's a Lovecraft demon? So, Shub's last name is only a threat if you don't know how she works. Since Apollo's strongest attacks are magic-based, the game is hoping you'll use one since she reflects all magic attacks. However, she takes double damage from all physical attacks, so as long as you use them instead, this fight's a cakewalk. Even if you don't have Apollo at max rank, he should have Gigantic Fist by now, so just punch her in the face until she goes down. With that, we grab the VIP key, then make our way to the lounge, where Shiori's in the middle of some kind of dream. Won't you tell me your name?
We've been at this for 10 years. You tell me first.
That's not how this works.
I have more important things to deal with. I'm this close to proving Tatsuya Scenario is the Joker.
I am trying to offer you a persona.
And I'm telling you, He's here. I'm waking up now. Goodbye.
Alright, fuck off, see if I care. I didn't know you could be so stubborn that you could refuse a persona. As Shiori wakes up, she sees someone else walk into the room with what looks like a weapon. Assuming it's the Joker, she whirls up behind him and puts her gun to the back of his head. Then, after she inner monologues for 2 more fucking minutes, he points out that his sword is wooden, which isn't against the law. She begins to interrogate him, asking for his name, so we tell her to subscribe, and she seems convinced that we're not the Joker. As Sub tries to convince her to get out of there, she suddenly warps to a different position as Sub stops time to pull her out of the way of the knife that's now buried in the wall. Looking to the back of the room, they see Suspect 501, Tatsuya Scenario, the Joker, drunk off his ass. Shiori basically gets left behind in the conversation, as Sub mentions how Sudou being the Joker on this side seems like something he would do. But Sudou claims he's just a stand-in until the real Joker comes back. Though Sub does inadvertently give him the idea to wear a mask like the Joker did on the other side. He tells Sudou that he can start over, that he doesn't have to listen to his voice anymore. But Shiori shouts back that Sudou still killed a lot of people 10 years ago. Even if he did start over, it won't bring her brother back to life. Sudou follows that up by saying the smartest thing he's probably ever said. You know that thermodynamics first law thing? It's all heat and energy. There's only so much shit to go around. You can't change what all you got. This fate shit's just the same. You got one guy who gets to be all happy, so another guy's gotta be unhappy to make up for it. That bronze kid brother, he was your stand-in. My stand-in?
All right, you two have 5 seconds to tell me what the hell is going on before I find a reason to arrest both of you.
Cops, am I right, kid?
Miss Shiori, this is a remake of an Atlas game.
Oh my god, I'm a remake girl.
Ugh, and you're not even playable.
After this, Sudou says he just got a call to kill Maya Amano, which causes Sub to fly into a literal fiery rage. As bottles of alcohol ignite, Sudou taunts him as the two crash into each other.
Gotta say thanks, you fucking brat. Cause of you, my Joker's got a new ability. Nova Kaiser!
Why do you have that?
Why do I have that?
Yeah, Eternal Punishment nerfed the hell out of Nova Kaiser. It went from being Power 152 Almighty and Power 48 Light in Innocent Sin to only Power 152 Nuclear in Eternal Punishment. And since Apollo is immune to nuclear in this game, Nova Kaiser is a dead skill for Sudou. Why does he even have that? Regardless, he has Poison Needle for thrown damage and can also deal almighty damage with Megiddo or his unique Joker spell. He has 1800 HP, resists sword damage, and drains fire, so that rules out basic attacks and fire spells, so you want to use anything else. And if you're at max rank, you may as well show Sudou what a real Nova Kaiser looks like. As Sudou fucks off, Shiori and Sub finally have a conversation. 10 years ago, the day Sudou attacked Sub and Maya on the other side, on this side, it was Shiori and her brother Takuya instead. And unlike Sub, who awakened to his persona and fought Sudou off, Takuya was not so lucky. Shiori saw Sudou as he ran, but the only people that believed her were Sub's father and police chief Togashi. But 3 days after Sub's father promised that he'd arrest Sudou, he was framed for accepting bribes and discharged. Shiori admits to herself that, while this wasn't her story, the wounded look in Sub's eyes made her want to share his burden, hoping that it might take away some of his pain. She invites him to her house, giving him a safe place to stay and lay low while he does what he has to do. And with that, the first episode comes to a close. God, I knew I'd be faster, but I thought it'd be close. Anyway, before I started the second episode, I actually realized something. Since the game is just adding and removing Sub as needed, if we're far enough into the story that he's properly joined already, it removes him, then adds him right back. And since nothing else about him is being changed, anything we do to Sub before starting an episode persists into that episode. That's why we can level him up beforehand, but level isn't the only thing we can change. While the first 2 episodes don't let you change Sub's gear or active persona, if you change them beforehand, those changes persist into the episode. I already mentioned that I'd be sticking with Apollo and the default gear for the first 2 episodes, but this made me wonder what else might persist. In the main game, eating at restaurants allows you to give characters temporary stat boosts, and the Sumeru Genie's fortune telling can alter how demons respond to conversations. While it might not be in the spirit of the run, for knowledge's sake, I wanted to know if these things transferred as well. So I grabbed a special cocoa from the Jolly Roger bar at Conan and reloaded until I got the Blue Dragon's blessing from the Suou Genie. With that, it's time to begin episode 2. Start the clock! After the first episode, Sub apparently told Shiori about what happened on the other side after she promised to keep it a secret. Episode 2 opens on Shiori showing Sub's father the recording she took in secret. I'm not trying to dog on Shiori, but she makes it so easy. Regardless, Sub's father only caved to Tatsuya Scenario, the foreign minister, in order to protect his family. But it just ended up passing the problem down to his kids, with Katsuya working with Maya and Sub fighting alone. Thus, with Shiori promising to keep Sub safe, his father agrees to take down the missing persons report, allowing him to move more freely. As they talk, they notice the blimp from the Sky Museum take flight, and Shiori thinks to herself that Sub is probably on that blimp.
Miyashiro, I know I have no right to ask this of you, but be careful out there. What Sub said is true. This could go even higher than Tatsuya.
Come on, Scribe. I'm not a complete rookie. I can take care of myself.
2 hours later.
I knew that was going to happen. Let it go to voicemail. I need a shower.
This is Shiori Miyashiro. I can't answer the phone right now. Leave a message.
Hey, this is for the boy staying with Shiori. She just got kidnapped, letting you know.
Motherfucker! 2 days later, Sub breaks into the science lab where kidnapped Jokers are being taken, which... pause. So, timeline. Right after Sub hears that message, he sees Wang Long Chizuru's interview on the TV, which is what causes the rumor that people who performed the Joker curse will turn into Jokers. An interview Maya is also watching at Kismet Publishing at the same time. Soon after it airs, the Taiwanese mafia starts kidnapping Jokers and sending them here. But Shiori got kidnapped before the interview aired, which is before the rumor started. This is either a really silly plot hole, or it means the New World Order blackbagged Shiori before she turned into a Joker. Anyway, Time travel! So Sub's here to find out who's running the place, rescue Shiori, and make sure Maya and her group get out safe. This gets complicated immediately when he finds Eikichi herding patients out of the containment room. Sub lies and says he came here with Maya, and Eikichi says he came looking for someone called Sugimoto. Someone Sub knows Eikichi got along with poorly on the other side. He assumes Sugimoto called the Joker on Eikichi, and he came to save him in spite of that. Which is correct, but Eikichi asks how the hell he knows that. Quickly changing the topic, Sub offers to help Eikichi get to the parking lot safely, so we head back to the start and encounter 2 elite berets, who somehow do a worse job at killing us than the Byakuya in episode 1.
Hey Sub, just wondering, but most people from 7's call me Michelle. How'd you know my actual name?
Who hasn't heard of Cass High's underpants gang leader?
Is that what they call me at your school?
Shit, I fucked up. What do I do? I fucked up. Shit. I love that the game takes the time to show why Sub is so distant with the Innocent Sin gang. It's because he nearly blows his secret every other line. So after Sub just leaves, we head back into the science lab, and to be honest, this episode feels kinda lazy. Like, the first episode has you go through Club Zodiac, and while Sub's version is simpler than what Maya goes through in the main story, it works either way. If you do it before Maya goes there, it acts as a teaser for what she'll face. If you do it after, it's a shorter version of what you just did. But episode 2 unlocks after you do the science lab as Maya, and Sub's map is identical to hers. You solve the same puzzles in the same order. It's kinda lame. The changes only start halfway through the second floor, where Sub finds 2 guards standing and talking about Shinjo, the man who runs the place. The older one pulls out a cigarette and asks for a light, and while the younger guy looks for one, Sub just rounds the corner with a lighter. It takes about a paragraph of inner monologue before they go, "Hey, what the fuck?" Only for Sub to knock the older one out before chokeslamming the younger one into a wall. Sub presses him for info and finds out that Shiori is being held on a secret 4th floor, only accessible by entering a secret code into the elevator. The only one who knows the code is the security supervisor behind this fence. So after we knock him out and steal his keycard, we head to the 3rd floor and take the elevator back down to the 2nd, where we find something familiar. Our aforementioned security supervisor in a prototype X-Series mech. Sub even mentions how it's similar in design to the Knights of the Holy Lance that Hitler used on the other side. And if you watched my Innocent Sin video, you should know how we deal with Nazis by now. The X-Zero is another boss designed to be piss easy for Apollo. While it does have flare shot for shot damage with an illusion chance, besides that, it's the same as the X series that Maya fights. Multiple different shot element attacks along with Muramasa copy to seal your Persona's skills and affinities for 3 turns. But unlike the other X series, who are weak to electric, this one is uniquely weak to nuclear. Even on a normal run, Apollo should have Nova Kaiser by now, so just drop a few nukes on him to finally end this war. Sub pushes the tip of his blade into this guy's forehead, forcing him into the elevator, and after smashing his face into the button panel, Sub steals his gun and forces him to take him to the 4th floor. Once they get there, the guy reveals that Shinjo isn't truly in charge. The whole thing is led by Tatsuya Scenario, who runs a shadow government known as the New World Order. With all the info he needs, Sub knocks him out and enters the room, only to find 2 men in lab coats standing around a humanoid-looking demon. Ripping a clipboard from one's hands, he realizes that what they did to Shiori went much further than what he saw downstairs. Shiori's psyche had been swapped with that of a demon from the collective unconsciousness. Unlike the Joker's, Shiori was genuinely, truly gone. Realizing we've gone from Persona to Resident Evil, Sub puts 2 in the knees of one of the scientists before choking the other into a machine. Gun to his head, he demands to know who the hell thought of this shit, and the man says it was Shinjo, whose true name is Takahisa Kandori. He says Kandori should be just up ahead in the other room, but Sub just keeps crushing his neck. He should die. They all should die. Sub literally can't keep himself from crushing the life out of this guy. But as he struggles for breath, the other scientist manages to crawl to a console and wakes Shiori up. As she rises into the sky, the air in the room spirals into a frigid tempest. This was no longer Shiori. Before them was the Windwalker, Ithaqua, the Wendigo. Meanwhile, the scientist we were choking out, Ozuki, points out the anesthesia tanks. We can knock her out. We can save her. Unlike previous bosses, we're actually on equal footing with Wendigo. While her fire weakness means Apollo can do plenty of damage to her, she can hit our ice weakness with diamond dust, and the rest of her attacks hit just as hard. Do not fuck around with this one. Heal up if you took any damage from the X-Zero. If you get low on HP, make sure you heal. We have another fight after this, so don't goof around. But just like before, enough healing items can keep us alive to get our damage in. It wasn't easy, but with enough firepower, Shiori goes down. After Sub slashes open a pipe, Shiori gets hit with enough gas to, quote, knock out an African elephant for 3 days, before Ozuki turns it off. Sub apologizes for nearly choking him to death, and he's like, nah, I get it, which is pretty chill of him. He confirms Kandori is down the hall welcoming Maya's group, so Sub leaves to go welcome him right back.
Thank you, Nanjo. I knew I could count on you to be stupid enough to fall for that.
Sub, what the hell are you doing here? Wait, that's actually his name?
Forget my name. Get out of here, now!
So tell me, Scribe, you plan on doing the Tatsuya Scenario?
We are doing the Tatsuya Scenario right now.
Oh.
Yes, I called it a sub-story.
Hey, let's go!
Playful Takahisa Kandori is the first fight that isn't designed to be curb-stomped by Apollo. He resists everything but Strike and Almighty and repels Nuclear, so Freyla and Nova Kaiser are off the table and almost everything else is doing half damage. And unlike Tatsuya Sudou, the rest of his kit is actually solid. Rain of Arrows for heavy shot damage, Unperishable Black to have your HP, as well as stealing Crawling Chaos from Nyarly for severe Almighty damage with a 56% mute chance. Here we thought... Ah, damn it. I'm still faster than Tatsuya and Shiori combined. Combine that with Diorama to heal himself and Shadow Force to hide your HP and SP, and this fight can spiral out of control if you aren't paying attention. While he doesn't have as much HP as he does in the main story, Kandori can do a lot more damage in this fight, so make sure you have enough items for healing. It's a bit of a crapshoot with how much he decides to heal and if you get muted by Crawling Chaos, but as long as he plays around too much, you can make sure he isn't playing around for long. Kandori talks about how both he and Sub are just actors playing their roles. But Sub just hacks and slashes at him, demanding how to turn Shiori back to normal. He catches Sub's sword in his hand, to which Sub tries to cut his fucking fingers off. But Kandori just smiles and tells him that if he thinks he can obtain all of her contradictory values at once, to seek out a suitable place for her. As Sub processes what he said, Kandori knocks the wind out of him, jumps over the railing, and walks out the door. Returning to the room where Shiori and Azuki were, we find Eikichi, who apologizes for getting kidnapped by Kandori. Sub says not to worry about it, but asks for a favor, man to man. He asks Eikichi not to tell Maya how they met earlier or what they talked about. As far as she needs to be concerned, the first time they met was when he saved him from Kandori. Eikichi can tell Sub has his reasons, so he agrees, but also says that if he needs someone to talk about, that he'll be there for him, even if he doesn't quite know what's going on. This just about tears Sub apart. Eikichi just met him, and he's already letting him into his life, just like he would have done on the other side. But knowing what would happen if he remembered, Sub lies and says he'll see him around, knowing he probably won't ever see him again. I'm sorry, Michelle. I wonder what Ginko's doing right now.
Miss Silverman, can we please get back to the interview?
Forget the interview! What do you mean I got cut?
Yeah, Ellie decided that? Jesus, fucking bitch. Yeah, Atlas decided not to do an Ellie route version of episode 2 for some reason.
Wait, did we know they were planning to?
Oh yeah, every sprite in the scene is unused except for you.
Oh, that's bullshit!
Yeah, even though there are unused sprites that look like they'd fit in Sumeru TV, you just don't unlock episode 2 on the Ellie route. I'm not sure why it was scrapped. Maybe they struggled to write both games to end at the same place? But with nowhere else to go, Sub takes Shiori to the Velvet Room, and the episode ends. Once you complete episode 2, you'll unlock the final episode after you finish Torafune in the main story, which finally lets us change Sub's equipment and personas, and also lets us use the rest of the party. Ah, fuck. Yeah, by the time we unlock the final episode, Sub will be joined by Maya, Katsuya, Ulala, and Baofu, which is kind of a problem for a solo run. In the original video, I found codes for the PS1 version to remove party members, but since I couldn't find those codes for the PSP version, I played the PS1 version instead. But it was after I finished episode 2 that I had an idea. I did find some codes for the PSP, and while the memory locations were different, both codes were just writing specific values to memory. If Atlas stored the party data similarly in both versions, I might be able to translate the PS1 codes to the PSP version. The first thing I needed was a starting point. While all the party's data is stored in the game's RAM, some things are easier to find than others. For example, if we search for Maya's level of 79, we find over 38,000 results. There's no way to tell which one, or ones, is her level. But if we use a big number, like her total EXP, we narrow those results down to 4. Looking at the PS1 codes, Maya's total EXP is located at position 845 AC. And 24 bytes before that is the value that determines if she's in the party. 11 for yes, 00 for no. So if we pick one of our PSP results, say position 6E9384, then look back about 24 bytes, what do we find?
Fine. I'll do it myself.
It's 4 bytes off, but it'll do. I also went and made codes for the entire party, so if you want to use these cheats yourself, check the link in the description. Though you probably shouldn't run an add or remove at the same time. Also, don't add all 7 characters to the party at once, or you'll unlock Creepypasta Tatsuya. With my party sorted out, it was time to do a little bit of prep. Since we can change our personas now, I decided to commit to the bit and recreated all of my final personas from the Innocent Sin run. In case you've forgotten, that's Lakshmi, Heimdall, and Tsukiyomi for buffs, Bishamoten for physical attacks, Abeno Saime as a wall, Hunab Ku to avoid random battles, Robin Goodfellow to escape from random battles, Vivian for personal reasons, and Succubus for no reasons. I made sure to recreate them perfectly too, down to the skill cards and incenses I used. The only exception I made was Abeno Saime. Since he doesn't naturally learn Tetracon and Eternal Punishment, I decided to give it to him with a skill card, since I felt like it was in the spirit of things. Also, yes, I'm now aware that it's pronounced Abeno Saime.
Abeno Saime.
Abeno Saime. With Scribe alone and ready to go, we begin the last episode. So, that's the situation. Can you help?
I see. Sadly, unlike the Jokers, her psyche has been fragmented and scattered to the winds of the collective unconscious. Unless you were to venture to the dreamlands of Kadath to retrieve them, even I am unable to help you.
Alright, how do I do that?
Well, are you familiar with the works of H.P. Lovecraft?
Are you fucking serious? So Chandraputra shows up? Yeah, Chandraputra, aka Randolph Carter, aka Lovecraft self-insert OC, is a named character in this actual Persona game. I kinda love this. Like, the entire Tatsuya Scenario pays a lot of love to the series' Lovecraftian origins, while also making it work within the game's rules. Instead of Carter's mind being trapped in an alien body, he's a Persona user who's been demonized. It's really cool. Anyway, Chandraputra agrees to use his silver key to let us into Kadath Mandala, but in exchange, he asks us for a favor.
I need you to recover my voice acting.
Your voice acting?
While traversing the Dreamlands, Nyarly Foultip stole my voice acting, so I had to be recast.
Oh, we're getting really meta with this, huh?
Once everything is settled, Chandraputra opens the way into Kadath, where we are greeted by a weird fucking cat.
There's a weird fucking stray cat outside!
Meet Lieutenant General Zula. He drops some lore about his people's war with the Zoog tribe, which I'm sure is a reference somebody will get, then offers to act as our guide. He says Shiori's psyche has been shattered into 11 trapezohedrons, each containing some aspect of herself. With words or weapons, we must defeat the demons guarding each fragment and retrieve all 11 to restore her psyche. But before we can even begin, we're attacked by the avatar of the boundaries within the collective unconsciousness, Umar Atwalil. The best way I can describe this fight is with a quote from Jurassic Park.
That is one big pile of shit.
This is the stupidest fight ever. While he does have other attacks, he spends most of the fight spamming non-elemental instant kills. Multi-dimension is a 20% single-target instant kill, and another dimension is 40% all-target. Why does he even have multi-dimension? Plus, he has 12,012 HP, more than every version of Nyarlathotep's first phase. This fight is a giant gimmick. Since instant kills Georg over here is immune to physical attacks, I just buffed up and spammed Nova Kaiser. It really comes down to how much Georg uses instant kills and whether or not they hit. If they do, fuck you, go to jail, do not pass go, do not collect $200. It took a few tries, but once Atlas decided that I'd suffered enough, we dodged the instant kills and take him down. With instant kills Georg defeated, he drops Shiori's fragment of knowledge, and we officially begin our descent into Kadath Mandala. Credit where it's due, Kadath is the only unique dungeon in the sub-story. While it reuses Minato Mandala's tile set, it's a completely new map. That said, fuck this map! This is the worst teleporter dungeon Atlas has ever made. Kadath is separated into 3 different sections: the unification of the ego, the cognition of the inner world, and the perception of the outer world. You start out in unification, and there is a door somewhere that will lead you to a fragment. Where is this door?
That's a good question.
Even if you find a map online, it will only get you so far, since each time you complete a section, the map changes, placing barriers along different paths. You don't just need to find the right door, you need to find the right path to the right door. And while the music is surprisingly good, it's unfortunately ruined for me since the main chord progression is just stupefied by Disturbed.
Look in my face, him in my soul. Look in my face, him in my soul.
So we need to find the other 10 fragments. But like Zula said earlier, we don't necessarily need to fight everyone. Of the 9 upcoming bosses, only 4 are required. For example, the first demon we meet is Virokana, who asks if we believe in the existence of a true self. If we say there's a definite self within us, we skip the fight and get 200 Sun Tarot. The other answer pulls us into a fight, and afterwards, we're given 50 Magician Tarot. And while I could give all the right answers, that's not why you're here, is it? In addition to severe fire and light damage with Deadly Burn and Divine Judgment, Virokana has Pralaya, a move typically exclusive to Shiva and locked behind mutation, which is a 100% sword element instant kill on 1 to 3 targets. Assuming he doesn't cheat, Virokana's not that hard, though he would be if we were still stuck with Apollo, since he has resistance or better to everything Apollo has. I ended up using Lakshmi since her light immunity shuts down Divine Judgment, and she gets to keep herself buffed up with Dance of Bravery. With only 3000 HP, this doesn't take long. Claiming Shiori's reason, we move on to the cognition layer. This area is probably the easiest to navigate just because it's the only one that isn't a teleporter maze. If you're still struggling, look up a map online and take the most inconvenient path possible. It's probably the correct one. This is how I made it to Skya, the original Buddha, who holds Shiori's perseverance. Thankfully, Skya is much easier. He focuses on inflicting status ailments, so his actual damage is on the lower side. Even if we only use Abe no Seimei, who takes double damage from physical attacks but reflects all magic, his basic attack only does around 200 damage. No matter what persona you use, buff up and then blast him down. Up next is Azazel, who holds Shiori's drive. This is our first unskippable fight, though he does actually make us an offer. Fallen from grace and taken by a lust for human women, he offers to trade one woman for another.
What the hell are you all looking at me for?
Sorry, Miss Serizawa. It was just...
We did say you could use your sexiness next time back at the science lab.
Absolutely not. No deal.
What the hell? Why the difference?
You look dreadful, like a tarted up clown. It's called a corruption kink. I can't work with rock bottom.
What the fuck?
Would you believe I only slightly exaggerated that scene? Anyway, Azazel actually has stuff to talk about that isn't instant kills. He does still have one. Guillotine Fake deals weak sword damage with a 36% instant kill chance, but the main issue is Pandemonium, which deals a shitload of almighty and dark damage. I considered using Abe no Seimei and spamming Tetracon to repel him to death, but Azazel is slightly faster than us, so it's possible he can go first and swing with Guillotine Fake, which, against our physical weakness, is a 72% instant kill chance. But then I remember that I'm an idiot. In most games, Tetracon and Makaracon only last for one turn, but in Persona 2, they last until consumed. So once we apply Tetracon, we can kinda just coast. Seimei's resistances handle all of his magic attacks, and if he uses his basic or Guillotine Fake, the damage gets reflected, then we just reapply Tetracon. Took a couple tries to find a strategy, but with it, Azazel goes down easy. Ulala decides to sneak a peek at Shiori's innermost desires, and while I initially chose not to peek to get 200 Temperance Tarot, I did reload later for content. Inside, we see delicious food, fluffy beds, fancy resorts, all shared between her and Sub as she sweeps him off. Oh my god! This warps us back to Cognition, where after 5 minutes of inconvenient pathing, we find Izanami, wife to Izanagi. Tell her she's smothering her emotions to piss her off and start the fight. This is the easiest fight yet. She does have Rotten Flesh for severe thrown damage, but she prefers to use Thunder Crush for severe lightning. And almost half of my personas have lightning resistance or better. That alone is enough for us to tap the fight in and secure Shiori's emotion. At this point, since I hadn't restocked on items since episode 1, I was starting to run low. Thankfully, Atlas thought of that, and all of our important resources can be found in Kadath. Unification and Cognition have a Velvet Room, and Cognition even has a Trish Fountain. What's interesting to me is that it also has a pharmacy. In-game, the Satomi Tadashi pharmacy chain is run by 7 known sisters, 1 in each part of Sumeru City and 1 in Persona 1's Mikage-cho. But somehow, there's another one here. Some suggest it might be a creation of the collective unconsciousness, which is just an amazing concept. Like, imagine walking into the collective average of every experience at a Wal-Mart. Out of curiosity, I brought the rest of the party back for a second to see what they had to say, and it's pretty funny. Katsuya wonders how the hell this is here, Ulala feels a bit more comfortable in a familiar area, Baofu wonders why they don't sell any regional goods before remembering where he is. But what's most surprising is that Nanjo and Ellie also have lines, which is super weird considering that neither of them can be here.
I've never heard this version of the song. We should bring Nanjo next time. I'd love to hear his thoughts on it.
I'm standing right here.
Sometimes I could still hear his voice.
By the time this episode unlocks, both Nanjo and Ellie will have left the party, and in Ellie's case, we can't even unlock this episode in the first place. This tells us quite a lot. Firstly, Ellie having lines all but confirms that episode 2 was planned to have an Ellie version at some point. It's kind of a shame we didn't get it too. Maybe there's a fight against Joker Junko buried in the code somewhere, who knows? But secondly, Nanjo and Ellie having lines at all implies there might have been plans to have this episode take place before Tatsuya joins the party after Mount Iwato. Narratively, this changes things drastically, since it means Tatsuya is still trying to handle everything on his own. Maybe Maya's party would have been chasing him through Kadath, trying to protect him from Nyarlathotep's influence. Or maybe he'd be gathering one half of the fragments while Maya's team grabbed the other and the game bounces between perspectives. I'm curious what you guys think. What would an Ellie route version of episode 2 have looked like? Or version of episode 3 before Tatsuya joins? Let me know in the comments below what you think. Jumping back to Unification, we make our way to Angra Mainyu. This is probably the most annoying fight yet. He has Sonic Bullet for thrown damage, Unperishable Black to have your HP, and Trial of Darkness for heavy dark damage with an instant kill chance. Make sure you restock on healing items. He has a very high chance to cast Dark Baptism early on, which blocks recovery magic for the entire fight. But the biggest issue is Mephistopheles, a unique non-elemental spell with a 56% chance to inflict almost every status ailment. The sheer amount of damage he can do, especially with Unperishable Black, prevent us from taking this in a fair fight. Swap to Abe no Seimei and shift into Tetracon strats. Repel strats are actually easier on the PSP due to the addition of a turn tracker, allowing us to see whether the enemy will go before us or not and plan around it. Say we just lost to Tetracon and he's going before us this round. We can have sub defend, then once he starts to attack, we cancel our action. Then, after you cancel, swap back to Abe no Seimei and reapply Tetracon. I recommend swapping to a dark immune persona like Tsukiyomi when you do this in order to stay immune to Trial of Darkness. It's a far cry from easy, but after dancing our personas around for 20 minutes, Angra Mainyu goes down. Arriving at Perception for the first time, it's not long before we make our way to Nodens. Nodens is apparently an avatar of Philemon, so after he tells us that life is worth living, he gives us the fragment without a fight, which is mighty kind of him. With that, we return to Cognition and make our way to an entity simply called the Old One. Zula describes the Old One as a member of an ancient alien race that created all life on Earth long ago. Katsuya's shocked to find that something like this is part of humanity, but Zula points out there's plenty of human cultures that people don't understand too. Katsuya suggests that we might be able to communicate with it, but since it speaks in Japanese Morse code, there's a bit of a language barrier. If you say it might be hungry, Maya just pulls some canned crab out of her bag, which is apparently her go-to work lunch. Katsuya tries to give her the benefit of the doubt, saying it might make a good sandwich with some mayonnaise and black olives, but Ulala says no, she just slaps it on a slice of bread and eats it raw. Even the Old One suggests adding octopus. Regardless, this skips the fight, so rather than having Maya girl failure her way through meeting an alien, we decide to attack it instead. The Old One isn't particularly difficult, though it does have solid coverage. It mostly focuses on physical damage with Photon Cannon for Havoc, Paralyzing Scratch for Strike with a Sleep chance, Tentacle for Havoc with a Stun chance, and Venom Bite EX for a lot of strike damage with a whopping 80% poison chance. It does also have Nuclear Missile to hit physical immune targets, though if you're really unlucky, it could use Hula of Misfortune to steal half your money. Still, it only has 4,000 HP, so it shouldn't take long once you're set up. Vivian actually came in clutch here, as they were the only persona I had that could hit its ice weakness, dealing very solid damage for a mid-game persona. With my personal pick putting in more work than I expected, the Old One goes down. Up next, we have the Dagon. Dagon is fairly simple, but can still be difficult if you aren't prepared. It has 6,000 HP, and has 2 unique melody skills to try to inflict status ailments. Extreme Melody is Almighty Element and has a 120% chance to inflict Berserk, and Charming Melody is Mind Element and has a 120% chance to inflict Charm. Thankfully, a lot of our personas are immune to Mind, so Charming Melody isn't a big issue, but Almighty Immunity is a lot harder to come by. I didn't want to use Abe no Seimei if I could avoid it, so I buffed with Lakshmi, then swapped to Apollo to hit his fire weakness. He did eventually hit me with Berserk, but since Berserk forces the character to spam powered-up basic attacks at random targets, it was actually a good thing. Sub started cranking out damage, hitting harder than he ever was with fire attacks. I almost killed him like this, but I got unlucky at the last second. Second try, I almost killed him with Berserk again, but the poison from Venom Claw EX overwrote the status, so I just finished the fight like a normal person. With that, we reached the penultimate fight against Cthulhu, and I'm gonna go mask off for a second. So I went into the Tatsuya Scenario mostly blind. I only knew 3 fights: Sudou in the first episode, Kandori in the second, and Cthulhu in the third. Everything else, including what those fights were like, was unknown. So finally reaching Cthulhu, the only Lovecraftian demon most people know, I was expecting something special, maybe something rivaling the cooler fights of the main game. What I got instead was one of the most boring fights of my entire life. There are several reasons this fight is a slog. Number 1, 10,000 fucking hit points. Number 2, fantastic resistances. 75% less damage from physical and ice, drains water and nuclear, and repels dark. Number 3, and most importantly, his skills. Maelstrom is a 106% water element instant kill, and Octopassy Fist is a power 112 strike attack. And for everyone who just looked at the screen like, what you said? I said Octopassy, not Octopussy. Both of these skills are typically fusion spells, special attacks that require multiple units to use specific spells in a specific order. But Cthulhu can just use them off the rip. These 2 skills put us in quite the shitty situation. Maelstrom means personas without water immunity are always a risk, and Octopassy Fist does about 500 damage after a defense boost, which means it would one-shot me without it. And as the cherry on top, he also has Transient Ripple, which dispels buffs and shield effects. Unsurprisingly, this is an Abe no Seimei fight, but even that has issues, since for some reason Cthulhu's Octopassy Fist is bugged? Typically when you repel an attack, the game displays a repelled icon, then either shows the damage, or shows the blocked icon if the enemy can't be damaged by that element. But for Octopussy Fist, the game just displays nothing. I thought it might be because it's a fusion spell, but Azazel's Pandemonium is also a fusion spell, and that works fine. And it's not an element problem, it works normally for his tentacle and basic attacks. He just ignores repelled Octopassy Fist. And that sucks, since it would deal a huge amount of damage back to him. Of the 6 attacks he can use, half of them will not progress the fight. And to make matters even worse, Cthulhu is slightly faster than us, so occasionally, he'll get to act twice in a row. When this happens, if you don't have Tetragon up, I recommend guard canceling like we did for Angra Mainyu. This time I swapped to Vivian since they were my only other water immune persona. When I picked up Vivian in Innocent Sin, I never saw this coming. But between Abe no Seimei and Vivian walling him out, we whittled Cthulhu down bit by bit, and after 30 fucking minutes, the greatest of the old ones goes down. With Shiori's will in our possession, we only have 1 shard left. Restock and heal if you need to, then head to the final door to face the last demon of Kadath, the Faceless God, an avatar of Nyarlathotep himself. He taunts us, saying how the waking world is moving closer to destruction, and asks Sub if he's going to let the rest of his friends die just to save Shiori. But he says that if he wants Shiori so badly, that he'll return her. As Sub shoves Maya out of the way, Shiori, blind to the world, can only see us as the little brother that was taken from her. Tears in her eyes, she begs Sub to let her be his big sister, to just be Takuya, to... Wait, didn't we just find out that she kinda has a thing for it? Did Atlas accidentally give her an incest kink? From the fragment of her reflection, Nyarlathotep manifested Shiori's shadow, the traumas and complexes she hides from the world. If they kill her shadow, Shiori will be lost forever. If you chase 2 hares, you'll catch neither, Shiori or Maya. Falling to his knees, as both women rush to his side, Sub is overcome by despair.
rage, anguish enough to sear the body. You hated me so much that you let me into your heart of your own free will. I am now, thou art I.
I'll kill you.
That's enough. I'm not gonna let you fuck with him anymore.
No! I'll tear him apart for what he did!
Wait, hang on, time out.
What?
Can we not use personas that repel magic? I forgot to bring my physical attacks.
Yeah, the avatar doesn't have any physical attacks. If you have a persona that repels magic like Abeno Seimei or Maya's Artemis, this fight basically solves itself. For the sake of this challenge being challenging, I chose not to use Abeno Seimei and... Where'd she go? Right, so this fight removes Sub from the party, and without him, the game just ends. This is an easy problem to fix. We just use our cheat codes to prevent him from leaving. The Faceless God has 14,000 HP, but thankfully takes neutral damage from everything but dark. And he has some of the strongest spells in the game. Asteroid Bomb and Crawling Chaos for severe almighty damage, Trial of Darkness for dark damage with a 50% instant kill chance, as well as that transient ripple skill again. But the main problem is his unique spell, Wheel of Fortune. Wheel of Fortune prevents you from changing your persona for 8 turns. And unlike the final boss of the main game, where he only uses this spell occasionally, here he practically spams it. The second you can change personas again, you have 1, maybe 2 turns before you're sealed again. We have to play around Wheel of Fortune, and that means we have to play around the instant kill. Besides Abeno Seimei, my only other dark immune persona was Tsukuyomi, though I did still use Lakshmi for buffs and Apollo for damage. If he uses Transient Ripple, reapply buffs as soon as you can, especially Samakaja for magic defense. And don't be afraid to heal with items, especially if you get muted by Crawling Chaos. This fight isn't as slow as Cthulhu, but with him constantly removing our buffs and using items to heal, it does require our full attention. Your priority should be healing, then buffs, then damage. Healing means you're alive to apply buffs, which helps you stay alive, which gives you the time you need to actually deal damage. Stick to the loop, and slowly but surely, you'll bring him closer and closer to 0. Once he's 1 hit from death, swap to Apollo, and with our final Nova Kaiser, we bring this sub-story to a close. Nova Kaiser! そして時は動き出す。Defeated, Nyarly tells us to face him in the flesh as soon as possible. He teleports away, leaving behind Chandraputra's voice acting, only for the rest of the gang to realize that Sub is choking Shiori's shadow to death. Katsuya pulls him away, bringing him to his senses and allowing Shiori's shadow to revert to the fragment. Sub cradles it to his chest, crying, saying he's sorry, as everyone else silently lets him grieve. General Zula reappears to congratulate us, and Chandraputra, who reveals himself to be Randolph Carter, appears to reclaim what was lost to him.
Thank you for restoring my voice acting. Now I can stop doing that ridiculous accent.
Wait, if you have your voice acting back, what is Nyarly going to sound like?
Logically, he will likely use the voice acting I had previously.
Oh, so Nyarly is still not going to be voiced...
Thank you for your assistance. I'm gonna go play Castlevania now.
And with that, our sub-story comes to a close, as we return to the events of Eternal Punishment, now with an understanding of what Sub went through. A tale of a boy cursed by fate, as he fought drunks, madmen, and the elder gods themselves. All to save a lying, manipulative cop with an incest kink. You know what? I changed my mind. I don't think I like Shiori anymore. Special thanks to Patreon backers Sokekin, Gracemi, Kirara, Dylan Toomey, Hound, Ming Kwantai, Cerulean Mimic, Shiny Blade, and the Nymph. And to YouTube members Dawn Shimmer, Axel Ryman, Ryoko Strifer, 0132132, Kita-san Crimson, Minrod Vills the Night Gamer, Shadow Arrow Ace, Fabrizio Pictataro Nasudakatax, Upland, Jaffinator2166, Pika the Wumpus, Hunter Regal, Shadowcoin, Ray the Shame, Platinum Espresso, Agrith Dragonflame, Part-Time Prick, Kibo, Nep Dimension Bun, RNS, Hideo Wolfsbane, Azarox Burner, Marcelo Sotello, Tiv J, Spartan of Life, Armin Weber, Starman 2001, Ying, Gunstriker EX, Pier, Raker Wallace, Ignis, Craig Bolton, Ivy, Nizibus, Owen2124, a deleted YouTube channel, and Dark Jaden. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.
What happened?
Morning, remake girl. Subinus' brother brought you here a couple days ago.
Did I miss the entire last episode?
Yep.
God damn it!